Hi, everyone. Welcome to a Woo Wellness Moment, your daily break for well-being. My name is Laura Sharon, and I'm an executive and life coach. I help people sort of get to what matters most to them, to the heart of what matters most through my coaching. I'm not a doctor and I'm not providing medical advice today, but if you feel like you need that type of help, please, we encourage you to seek the services of a professional for that. So what if today someone told you that practicing self-compassion would make you feel less anxious, make you better able to manage stressful situations of all kinds, and help you become the best version of you ever, ever. So let's do a quick self-compassion pulse check. Sit back and listen to some of the questions that I'm going to ask and note your responses. How kind am I to myself? Do I speak to myself the way I would speak to a beloved friend or child? What words do I use when I speak to or of myself? What is my self-talk when I make a mistake? How often do I berate or criticize myself or my circumstances? How well do I take care of myself? Do I think my life situation or suffering is unique? That no one really understands what I'm dealing with or going through? How much do I judge myself or others, or my circumstances? And how am I coping with stress? Am I using substances or TV or shopping or sex or eating or being busy to numb or escape difficult emotions? I want to tell you a little bit about how I came to the practice of self-compassion. So years ago, I was at a conference and I was in a workshop, and the facilitator of the workshop gave us a challenge, and he pointed out to us that, typically when we as human beings do things like stub our toes or hit our funny bone or bang our knees on something, we have this reactive reaction, right? So we clench and we contract around the pain. And he proposed to us that there was a different way to respond, that there was a way that you could send loving kindness and love to yourself when you're in pain. And, back then I was a real skeptic about this. I really was not on board with this approach. And so I was very kind of snarky and cynical, but I decided to be curious. Like, I just made a choice that I'm going to be curious about this. And so and try it and see if it works. And so the next time as we all do, I bumped into the wall or I did something where I physically hurt myself, I remembered in the moment to try this new approach. And so I was like, the only thing I could think of was love, 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 love. And so I just sort of in my head said, love, 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 love. And then I put my hand on that physical pain. And when I did that, the warmth that came from my palm and the love, love, love mantra that I had in my head, that pain went away so fast. I was blown away. So I got even more curious and I kept practicing this, and it took a long time because I had a lot of negative and judgy kind of thoughts in my mind. So fast forward to 2016, and the summer of 2016, my mom and my sister, who lived together for 25 years, they died 6 weeks apart. And I was the person who had to deal with all of their stuff, physical stuff and others. And so the day I was there to have the movers come clean out their apartment, they had started taking the furniture out, and I was like, oh my God, I am so overwhelmed. I can't do this. I mean, I just physically can't do it. It was like I hit this wall. And then I remembered my self-compassion practice. I remembered that I needed to have some mercy for myself. And so I kind of checked in with myself. I said, what is it that I need in this moment? And this answer came to me, which was, I need to lie down. Well, they had taken the beds. They had taken the couches. There was nowhere for me to lie down, except out on the balcony of the apartment, which had a concrete slab as the floor. And in the old days, I would have been like, judging myself and saying, oh, that's ridiculous. You can't lay on the concrete. Go buy cookies or do something else to deal with this. But in that moment, all that practice I had done came back to me, and I'm like, who cares whether I lay down on the concrete slab? Nobody's here but me. So I laid down on the concrete slab. Who knows what the movers were thinking? But as soon as I got down, because they saw me walk out on this balcony and then I disappeared. So I laid down on the concrete slab, and the next thing I found myself doing was putting my hand to my heart. I don't know if you can see me doing it now, but I literally took my hands and put them on my heart. And in an instant, the warmth again from my palm, it was like I connected to myself. And of course, when we do that, the emotions become much more accessible. So I literally started crying. And then when the crying stopped, and it did, I could breathe a little easier. I was a little calmer. I was still scared, but I was recognizing that I was safe, that I wasn't alone. I had myself with me. And that I knew how to take care of myself. I knew what I needed, and I was going to give that to myself. So what if today you committed to practicing self-compassion? And I'll break that down for you. So what are the components of self-compassion? The first one is just noticing what's happening and doing that without judging yourself. Those questions I asked in the beginning are great barometers to sort of do a quick self-assessment of how compassionate you are being in any given moment with yourself. So notice what's happening without judgment. And then the second one is acknowledge that what you're experiencing in any given moment is what all human beings experience. There's a common connection and a common humanity to anything that we each go through individually. So what is that? Can you connect to the fact that you really aren't alone? We all experience whatever it is that is happening in your moment. And then the third part of self-compassion is loving kindness. It's sending love and kindness and warmth to yourself. For me, it's putting my hands over my heart. So what if today you committed to practicing self-compassion every day for the next 30 days? What will you look like on day 31? How do you think that you will feel? So I am happy to take questions, respond to any questions that folks might have. I'm just going to take a look. I see a lot of people saying good morning, hi. I know it's not morning everywhere. Any comments or questions? Hi, Jennifer. Hi, Vanessa and Anna. Thank you, Jeanette. A beautiful message. Thank you. Oh, thank you, Anna. Anna's saying I'm filling her with peace. This is I think the thing I'll close up with before I give some tips, just to summarize, is self-compassion is a practice. So to learn anything, when we learn to ride a bike, when we learn to swim, when we're exercising, we have to practice. I do yoga too, and that practice is what heals us. That's how we learn the new behaviors. We just do it over and over. And, not beat yourself up when, um, when you revert back to the old behavior. So in closing, I'm going to leave you with 3 of my top practices, and then I invite you to try them on or try on ones, that resonate more with you and who you are as a person. These are the ones that work really well for me. So the first one is, next time something's difficult, put your hand on your heart and just think to yourself, loving kindness, love, I'm giving myself love. And just notice what happens. Try really, really hard not to go into judgment. The mind might go there, and when it does, you just give it a nod, you notice, and then you move on and just go back to your loving kindness. The second one is keeping a picture of yourself in a space in your house or your apartment or wherever, where you see it frequently. Because sometimes what happens is, if we can tap into the little kid that we once were, it's easier for us as adults to give that love to a child. And we all have that child in us still, even though we forget that we do. So sometimes it helps to conjure up an image of yourself when you were little, and we have more compassion and love to give the little ones. And then the third and last tip is just to give yourself permission to be human. We all go through a lot of stuff. We're going through a lot of stuff now in the world, and one of the flatteners is our common humanity, right? We're all going through it at the same time, and sometimes when we're going through our own personal challenges, we forget that. So I would just say, try to remember those 3 tips, and then come up with ones that work for yourself, and practice, practice, practice. Thank you. Great to be with you guys today. Take care.